What's up, everybody? This is your boy Uber Hikari, aka the Nerd Nigga, here to bring you another video with no frills, just the analysis. And today I'm here to bring you the review of Naruto Chapter 667 entitled Green Days Are Over. But before I get into this chapter review, got a special unboxing. Just got my package from Amazon.com. And so let's go ahead and open this up and see what we got. Very special unboxing. Ladies and gentlemen, I pre-ordered this package 8 months ago. About 8 months ago, I pre-ordered this, so you know it's going to be beastly. It's going to be beastly. Alright, let's see. Take a look at this for a second. Oh yeah, this is nice. This is nice. Of course they gotta put it in extra plastic. You know what I mean? Cause cardboard isn't enough, and tape isn't enough. Gotta put this shit in government plastic too. All right, so gotta be careful with this. What do we have here, ladies and gentlemen? Take a look at this. Beautiful, beautiful cover art by Michael Whelan. Brandon Sanderson. Words of Radiance. Book 2 of the Stormlight Archive. And you know I had to get this. First edition hardcover for book 2 of the Stormlight Archive. I already have a first edition hardcover of the first book in the Stormlight Archive, which is Way of Kings. But this, look how thick this thing is. Huge. Massive. Epic fantasy, baby. It doesn't get much better than this. I would say that outside of maybe George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire, this is probably the second best ongoing epic fantasy series. Beautiful. And of course, you got, and this is what makes this book so unique. The artwork on the inside is just beautiful. And it's not just on the inside of the hardcover, ladies and gentlemen. So let me see if I could flip to some pages, and this book's pretty unique. Let's see. No, not that. Generally, it has artwork on the inside as well. Trying to find some. Let's see. God damn, man, this book's so big. You don't know. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so they actually give you some artwork on the inside of the book as well. You see that there. Don't know what this is of. This might be one of the... No, this looks like a turtle or something. You see the turtle up there. This looks like ocean creatures, the fish. And this is very unique inside of books in general, because generally adult books don't have artwork inside of them. But this series is a little bit different. Very beautiful artwork on the inside. So now that I've spent 5 minutes bragging and boasting about my purchases, let's get into this chapter. Alright, so I think, well, let's just say preliminarily, Kishimoto has managed to staunch the bleeding, if only for a little bit. And I think that, I hope not, but I think that given what we saw in last week's chapter, the fuckery will commence. I can't say that for sure, given that this chapter wasn't as bad as last week's chapter, but that just might be the case. So let's just hop right into this summary and analysis portion of this chapter. Only two things really happen in this chapter. One, Kabuto shows up and heals Sasuke. And at this point, Sasuke hasn't been fully healed, but it's only a matter of time. Presumably Naruto and Sasuke will both be sort of revived and rejuvenated simultaneously. They'll come back to the battlefield simultaneously, and then they'll be able to take on Madara Uchiha. So given the sort of arc of the plot progression so far, I'm starting to think that Madara Uchiha's downfall is going to come probably within the next 15 to 20 chapters, because I can't see how much more could. I mean, unless he just decides to put in padding and filler, which is not unthinkable for Kishimoto given his penchant for putting in so many goddamn flashbacks. But once Naruto and Sasuke make it to the battlefield, Madara Uchiha's demise has to be pretty much imminent. And also, not only is Kabuto healing Sasuke, but it looks like he's healing him in a very specific way. No, not sexual healing. If that's what you no, that's not where this review is going. So this is what Kabuto says. I forget who asked him what he was doing or how he was healing Sasuke, but this was his response. With my medical ninjutsu and studies of Hashirama cells, aka the most hacked plot device ever, Hashirama cells, which means that this pretty much guarantees that Sasuke is going to get the Rinnegan, because you get the Rinnegan through merging or remerging the bloodlines of the Sage of Six Paths, which are the Uchiha on one hand and the Senju on the other. So looks like Sasuke is going to get the Rinnegan, but this was no surprise because everybody has been predicting this since forever. And the second thing that happened in this chapter, Gai takes on Madara, which was an interesting fight to say the least. But the next chapter that shows the continuation of that fight looks like it's gonna be pretty fucking beast. First, though, let me talk about Kabuto. I suppose it makes some sense that the mystery person standing beside Sasuke is Kabuto, given the fact that he was seemingly set up to be transformed by Itachi putting him inside the Izanami. So that makes some sense. And it also makes sense in the sense that every major villain in this series gets redeemed. I mean, Nagato, Obito, even Orochimaru to a certain extent has been redeemed because he's been sort of pushed away from that category of villain and into the category of anti-hero. And I mean, some of his characteristics are still somewhat unsavory, but that's what an anti-hero is. An anti-hero is an anti-hero because precisely because they don't embody all of the virtues of the hero. And so that makes sense that Kabuto is the mystery person in that sense. And of course, Kabuto is just following the program, following the same drawn out villain archetype that gets redeemed over and over and over again. So again, that makes sense. Let me talk about the characterization of Kabuto, however, for a little bit. Using Izanami as a sort of literary device or plot device for the character transformation of Kabuto would have been cool if not for two problems, or at least problems as I see them, because this could also just be my personal preference. Number one, I don't give a shit about Kabuto. And honestly, I don't see why anyone should give a shit about Kabuto. I never really liked him, never really sympathized with him as a character, never related to him in any way whatsoever, never cared for him as a character, don't give a shit about his backstory or struggles or his life problems or any of that bullshit. I really don't care about Kabuto. And I think part of the reason why I don't really feel all that much for Kabuto is the fact that his character development was never really organic. It never really had an arc over a sort of linear arc over a long period of time that would allow the reader or the audience to get acclimated to who Kabuto is and what he's all about. And you can kind of see this going back to the Itachi and Sasuke versus Kabuto fight. His entire backstory was basically one big ass info dump right before he got trapped in Izanami. I mean, if you if you want to create sympathy in the audience for a character, that's the worst way to do it. Try to jam pack their character development all together at once into a backstory slash flashback that happens right at the climax of a highly anticipated fight. If you want someone to ignore a character, that's the steps that you need to take. That's the protocol that you should follow. And as a result, I just never really got attached to the character. However, I will say this. The foundation of Kabuto's characterization is actually quite good. It's actually pretty good. Because Kabuto is a symbol of the various ways in which the shinobi world subverts people's notion of their own self-identity. And this motif comes up again and again and again in Naruto. It happened to Hashirama, it happened to Madara, it happened to Nagato, Obito, and again it happens to Kabuto. So again, like his characterization, I don't have a problem with the foundation of his characterization and not even necessarily the archetype because we've seen this archetype before. I had a major problem with the execution. And just to go on a little bit of a tangent, in a more general sense, I think this is true of almost all fiction. And here's what I mean. There's no more original stories left to tell. There's really no more original archetypes left to tell. And if there are, there are very, very, very few of them left. So most of the problems that people have with stories don't have anything to do with originality. Although people swear that they don't like unoriginal stories, whatever the fuck that means. Most of the time, people have problems with the execution of plot and of stories and not necessarily with the originality of said stories. And this is a prime example of that. Second problem I had with Kabuto. This whole redemption motif is just freaking worn out at this point. I mean, every villain is redeemed by either becoming a hero or an anti-hero. Nagato, Obito. I was about to say Mamoru Uchiha. That might have been my spidey sense. My spidey sense for bullshit. But Obito, Nagato, who else are some other villains? Kabuto, of course. Orochimaru is now become an anti-hero, and I'm pretty sure that's all of them, except for some of the ones in Akatsuki who were pretty irrelevant. And nobody gives a shit about, like Kakuzu and Hidan. They're completely irrelevant now. Uh, so yeah, this whole redemption motif for the villains is just drawn out, overdone, oversaturated throughout the story. Don't really care. And of course, this was the same thing for Kabuto. His ideology and the reasons why he changed weren't necessarily the same as the other villains I mentioned in the series, but it's the same story, redemption motif. All the villains pretty much follow the same arc of development. And at this point, I'm not even sure why Kabuto is relevant anymore. I mean, right now he's just being used as a plot device to get Sasuke the Rinnegan. That's pretty much the only narrative function he has at this point. And the question that I have is, will Kabuto simply remain a power-up plot device, or will there be something more? I'm interested to know the directions in which Kishimoto could take Kabuto's character. I think I think there's still some possibility here for Kabuto's characterization. That could be quite interesting. Could be quite interesting. Also, in relation to the Kabuto subplot in this chapter, let me talk about Orochimaru. A couple of chapters ago, it was implied that Orochimaru had some kind of plan up his sleeve. And if I remember correctly, it was Jugo, but I can't quite remember if it was either Jugo or Suigetsu. But one of them implied that Orochimaru's plan may have had something to do with taking over Sasuke's body once again. And my response at the time was, damn, this subplot is still ongoing. Why is it relevant? Why should I give a shit? And in this chapter, we get the same sort of feeling, if you know what I mean. This time is Jugo who's wondering what Orochimaru has planned. And it's starting to seem as if this is a new developing subplot. And again, my question is, why is Kishimoto still developing subplots at what is supposed to be the either the end or the climax of the manga? That just seems a little suspicious to me, and it goes back to the point I made a couple of chapters ago about the potential identity reveal of the person inside of Spiral Zetsu, which we still haven't gotten to. And my whole point is that this creates too much of a potential to throw the pacing off, because at this point, there should be no more exposition, no more explication. We don't want to hear that bullshit. We just want to see the fights. We just want to see Madara wreck some shit. That's all we want to see at this point. I don't want to get any more revelations with subplots. Now, let me talk about Madara versus Guy. And this fight, like I said, was rather interesting because of some of the things that were revealed. So, Guy shows up and decides to take on Madara. And before this happens, though, Minato starts talking about all of Madara's weaknesses. And here's verbatim what Minato says. He says, "That's right. Only sage techniques will work on him," meaning Madara. "That and the other thing. Taijutsu will be able to inflict actual physical damage on him." Did everybody catch that? So Madara has three weaknesses. Because he says Sage Chakra, Taijutsu, and then he says that other thing. The hell is he talking about? She says, "That's right, only sage techniques will work on him. That and the other thing. Taijutsu will be able to inflict actual physical damage on him." What other thing is he talking about? Unless this is a matter of translation and the way it's being worded, and the other thing is taijutsu. Maybe that's what's going on here, because uh, something doesn't make sense. I mean, if Minato knows what the other weakness is, why would he say that other thing? Why wouldn't he just say it? So perhaps this is just the way it's worded by the translators. That could be it. Yeah, it's a very high probability that's it. But let's talk about these so-called weaknesses of Madara Uchiha. Sage Chakra is somewhat understandable. After all, the it's called the Sage of the Six Paths, right? I mean, his chakra is pretty much Sage Chakra, so it would make some sense to a certain extent that his weaknesses would also be Sage Chakra. Okay, whatever. Obviously, I can't comment on the mystery weakness if that's really what it was to begin with. But taijutsu? Really? Taijutsu? The god of the shinobi world can be hurt with punches and kicks? That's all it takes to be the god now? punches and kicks. I don't understand why this should be the case. However, not only did Minato say this, but it seems as if Madara confirmed this, because this is what Madara said when Guy opens the seventh gate of wonder. Madara says green steam. If it were to become red steam, dot dot dot, I underestimated him. The fuck? Does Madara really fear Guy's taijutsu? The god of the shinobi world, the sage of the freaking six paths, fears punches and kicks? I mean, either the sage of the six paths is a pussy ass power, or Guy's taijutsu, once he opens the eighth gate, must be broken as fuck. It's really the only explanation. Because even the seventh gate is really ass, to be truthful. I mean, it's really ass. When he opened the seventh gate, all he did was speed blitz Madara, do some kung fu punches and kicks, do afternoon tiger. That was it. Like, that's, I mean, for the seventh gate, that's pretty ass. I mean, really can't dispute that. Speed blitz punches, kicks, and afternoon tiger, which really isn't a technique at all, but is really just a fast punch. That's nothing. So I mean, the eighth gate must be considerably more broken than just that bullshit in order for Madara to really fear him to the extent that he's talking about how he underestimated Guy. And this sort of goes back to something I mentioned, I believe, in my last chapter review. There's something really inconsistent about the power of the Sage of Six Paths. And I'm starting to think that everything we heard about the Sage of the Six Paths, that whole entire aura of mystery and legend surrounding the Sage, might just be hyperbole, honestly. I mean, because think about it. If the Sage, if absorbing the Jubi, if becoming the Jinchuriki of the Ten Tails really made you that powerful, why would you fear punches and kicks? Just, I mean, I understand these aren't normal punches and kicks, but still, though. I mean, shouldn't absorbing the freaking Jinchuriki, the Ten Tails, I mean, absorbing the Jubi, the Ten Tails, shouldn't that just make you stronger, faster, more durable, and everything else than everyone else in the world? I mean, you, after all, you have absorbed a god. I mean, no one should really be able to do shit to you. No one should be able to speed blitz you. No one should be able to punch you or kick you or be more durable or be stronger or anything like that. That really shouldn't be the case at all. But I will say this, though, in conclusion. I'm pretty excited about the 8 gates. I know I just said the 7 gates were ass, but come on, man. Kishi can't fuck this up. He's had the entire series to work on the power of the 8 gates. It's gotta be awesome sauce. And even though, I mean, I'm kind of neutral on Guy's character, overall, I kind of like his fighting style. I mean, ninjutsu is cool, genjutsu is cool, but I really like, taijutsu. Especially taijutsu when it comes to gates, because ever since that Rock Lee versus Gara fight, that shit's just been so beast. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this chapter. Overall, I would say I'm pretty neutral on this chapter. It wasn't good, wasn't bad, but it does hold out some promise. Uh, Maybe if we get uh, some further exploration of Kabuto's characterization, that could be good in the future. Obviously, the upcoming fight with um, Guy opening up the 8 gates against Madara, that should be cool as fuck. I don't want to see any other panel in next week's chapter except for a Guy versus Madara. Don't give a shit about anything else. So this was your boy Uber Hikari, aka the Nerd Nigga. Just brought you another video with no frills, just the analysis. Peace and have a blessed day.